Hi students, in this video we will discuss the concepts hash if def and hash if ndef, that is if defined, if not defined. Now here this is a simple concept, observe carefully. So here if defined, that is if the hash if defined, if the preprocessor directive checks if macro is defined by hash define or not. So if the preprocessor, that is if it is defined by hash define, then it executes the code. Otherwise else part code will be executed if else is available, that is hash if def. Then for this if we should write hash indef. If def macro, this if this macro is defined, that is hash, suppose if this macro is pi, if it is defined, this part of the code will be executed. Suppose if this is not defined, this code will not be executed. If there is else, that else part will be executed, and we should close this if after else. So if the macro is defined, then this part will be executed. If the macro is not defined, then this part will be executed. Then we should end if. Now let us see one simple example. So here I have already written the code. So initially a equal to 0, hash if def. If it is hash if def input, so whether I defined this input as macro, no, hash defined no input is not available. So hash if defined, it is not defined, so it goes to the else part, and this part of the code will be executed. This code will be executed, that is a value will be accepted, and that accepted value will be displayed onto the screen. Okay, now let us see the example. Save your program, compile and run the program. So enter a value 45, displays a equal to 45 onto the screen. Now what I want to do here is, now let me define this macro. So here use the code hash define no input, or you can use any name. So hash define no input. Now I have defined, I have not assigned any value to it. So it is defined. You can, if you want, you can assign any value also. Hash, I have defined this hash if def no input. No input is available here as it is defined as a macro. Now this part of the code will be executed. Then a value will be 2. When if you run this program, the code what we have written inside if def will be executed. Now a equal to 2, it will be displayed onto the screen. This is hash if def. If macro is defined, this part of the code will be executed. If macro is not defined, so the else code will be executed. So for this if, we have written this else part. Then at the end we should write end if for hash if. Now similarly we have the other one, hash if not defined. If not defined, this is exactly opposite of hash defined. If not defined, this part of the code will be executed. If defined, then else part of the else part will be executed. Now in this example, so hash if not defined, input is defined or not defined? It is defined. So then it is false, then it goes to the else part. Now it will execute, this code will be executed. That is, it goes to the else part and this part of the code will be executed. Enter 55, then 55 will be executed. Suppose if you remove this part, hash define no input, now this part of the code will be executed, that is a value will be 2. It will not accept the data, so a value will be 2. Okay, so this is exactly opposite of hash def, that is hash ndef and hash if def are, that is the meaning of this is hash if defined, if macro is defined, or if macro is not defined. So this is exactly opposite of if defined, or hash if def. It is exactly opposite one. Thank you for watching. See you in next video.